Hello. I'm going to be walking through a few puzzles today, and I'm going to be teaching you how to think four-dimensionally in chess. Let's get started. First, we're going to be doing some rook tactics. For this first puzzle, I will teach you how the rook moves. So, in regular chess, the rook moves as many times as it can on one axis. As you can see, on the x-axis and the y-axis, it can move as many times as it wants to. If I put it in the history view, you'll see that it can also move as many times back in history. We're going to use this to our advantage. So, if you look at our first board, you'll see that in this top right corner, if we put it there, we'll be putting this king in check and mate. So let's do that. As you can see, the king is in checkmate because we are traveling through time to put the past king in check. Let's do one more for the rook. For this one, we can just do a regular check. A regular checkmate. And then, because we traveled back in time, it's going to create a new multiverse. So we don't need to worry about this one because we're not on the present timeline. But for this one, we'll just put them into checkmate. Let's move on to the knight. So, in regular chess, the knight will move 2 on one axis and 1 on another axis. So if we move the knight here, we'll be able to move 2 on the y-axis, and then 1 over on the history axis, hitting this king back here, putting them in checkmate, just like that. Let's do one more for the knight. Can you figure this one out? We're going to be moving to this corner right here because we're planning on hitting this king because we're going to be moving 1 space in time and 2 spaces in time and then up 1 on the y-axis. See? 1 space in time, 2 space in time, and then 1 up on the y-axis. Let's move on to bishops. Bishops are able to move 1 on one axis and 1 on another axis. This means that going back in time, they move in a straight line because they will move 1 on the time axis and 1 on either the x or y axis. For this one, we're going to be putting the bishop right in the top corner because now we're going to be moving to this square and then back 1 more, and we're going to be getting the king right there. Let's do one more for the bishop. For this one, if we just put the bishop right in front of the king, because the king can't take our bishop, they're just in checkmate. Because the bishop will move back 1 on one axis, on the time axis, and then up 1 in the y-axis, putting the black king in checkmate. Let's move on to pawns. Pawns just move forward, and they're able to attack from the sides. So let's move this pawn forward onto this other multiverse. Let's do one more for the pawn. For this one's a bit tricky. We're going to be trying to attack the king on the side. We're going to move it right here, so it's going to be defended by this bishop. And because pawns take from the side, they go over one on one axis, so we're going to go up one on the multiverse axis, and then back one on the time axis. So we're going to be hitting this king right here. Let's move on to the queen. For the queen, it can move just like a rook and just like a bishop. So we're going to be putting the queen right here. And we're going to be putting this king in check and this passed king in check. So just like the bishop, the queen's pattern of movement will spread out a little bit over time. So we're going to put the queen right here, which is going to force the king to move. And we're going to use our time travel abilities to put the king right here in check, because it's going to go one up here on this passed board, and then one more over on this board. Just like that. As you can see, we go one right here, and then we go back one board and up another in the other axes. Let's move on to the king. So just like the queen, the king can also move one on each axis. So, in order to checkmate the white kings, we are going to be moving in this corner right here. The reason why is because we are going to be putting this king in check right here, this king in check, and this king in check. So our opponent will have no way to respond to our advances. Let's do one more for the king. So, for this puzzle, we can see that there's a vulnerability on this board that is also right next to us on the present timeline. In order to hit that king right there, we're going to move our king onto this board, moving the present timeline back. So then we are able to take out this king, and our opponent isn't able to do anything about it. Thank you for watching my tutorial on how to play 5D chess with multiversal time travel. I hope this has helped you increase your understanding of how pieces can move in 4 dimensions. Thank you for watching.